Some jobs require facing complete isolation. In the silence of the forest, far from any kind of help, even the smallest noises can take on a terrifying weight. It was on an otherwise ordinary night that a worker responsible for latex extraction realized something in that environment wasn't right. As he went about his routine deep in the woods, strange sounds began to echo between the trees. At first, he tried to ignore them, blaming the noises on nocturnal animals, but the sounds grew more frequent and harder to explain, triggering a growing sense of unease. Feeling that something was wrong, he decided to turn on his camera and record what was happening. What appears next is deeply unsettling. The sounds, once distant, seem to turn into mournful cries, as if they're responding to his presence. When he points his flashlight into the dense forest, the beam reveals a motionless silhouette near a tree. The figure doesn't move closer. It doesn't run away. It simply watches. Realizing he isn't alone, the worker panics. Overwhelmed by fear, he leaves everything behind and runs without looking back, desperate to get away from that place. Whatever it was that stood there, one thing is certain. That forest was hiding something that was never meant to be seen. What would you do if you realized something was watching you from the darkness? A truck driver known as Ken McGill ended up recording something truly disturbing on his dashcam. And the most unsettling part, it all happened at exactly 3 in the morning. Watch the following video closely.
She can go meet up with him and see if she can get him to confess. And it's a tough decision, I'm sure, but Amy ultimately agrees. So she wears the wire, and she picks up Chuck, and she...
Pay close attention to the side of the road. In what appears to be a completely ordinary stretch, a figure suddenly emerges along the shoulder of the highway. There's no gradual approach. It simply appears. The outline resembles a woman dressed in light-colored clothing, moving toward the roadway. Now notice this detail. Just seconds earlier, another truck passes in front. The moment it continues down the road, the figure manifests, as if it were revealed at that exact instant. When the footage is reviewed more carefully, the strangeness only deepens. It doesn't look like someone crossing the road or walking along the shoulder. Many viewers have suggested the possibility of an apparition tied to tragedies that occurred along that stretch. Similar reports are common among drivers who claim to hear sudden braking, invisible impacts, or see shadowy figures in areas known for fatal accidents. So the question remains, are we looking at a simple visual effect or something bound to the past of that road? Look closely at the details and draw your own conclusion. Working the overnight shift is usually quiet, almost mechanical, but on some nights, the silence feels far too heavy. That's exactly what one woman experienced in 2023, when she realized that something at her workplace simply wasn't right. She was alone on the night shift when she began to notice strange sounds echoing through the empty hallways. At first, she tried to act normal, making noise, speaking out loud, thinking that if someone was there, they would either reveal themselves or leave. Nothing happened. The building remained completely empty. Sensing that something was off, she decided to pull out her phone and start recording. What was captured moments later is deeply unsettling. As she moved through the corridors, she entered the break room. That's when she heard something different. It wasn't a clear voice or a scream, but a prolonged sound, like a moan filled with pain or deep sorrow. Seconds later, the lights shut off on their own, plunging the room into total darkness. Her heart racing, struggling to stay calm, she decided to leave immediately and head toward the elevator. Before stepping inside, she starts filming again, unaware that things were about to get worse. As she walked down the hallway, she had a distinct feeling that footsteps were following her at a distance. Once inside the elevator, she felt a brief sense of relief, but it didn't last long. Heavy sounds began to echo, as if someone were stomping forcefully just outside. In the metallic reflection of the elevator cabin, something caught her attention. Strange shapes appeared for brief moments, distorted figures that shouldn't have been there, resembling human silhouettes without defined outlines. Despite her fear, she kept the phone pointed forward, recording every second. After that night, she made a final decision. She never again tried to investigate strange noises or unexplained movement at work. Sometimes, discovering what hides in the dark is far more terrifying than simply walking away. While searching the internet for unusual recordings, I came across a video that stood out precisely because of how few explanations surround it. Very little is known about its origin, only that it was recorded inside a Muslim mosque by someone who noticed something out of the ordinary and decided to capture the moment. What appears in the footage is subtle, yet striking enough to spark intense debate. Watch the scene carefully. A man is kneeling, fully focused on his prayer, when a luminous form seems to emerge just behind him. The light doesn't behave like a simple, ordinary reflection, and it remains visible for several moments, long enough to raise questions. Many viewers immediately associated the figure with something spiritual, suggesting it could be a divine manifestation, perhaps even the appearance of an angel. But now it's worth looking more closely at the details. Are we witnessing a genuine religious phenomenon, or is there a natural explanation that went unnoticed? The lack of information only makes it all the more intriguing. Study the video carefully and tell me, do you believe this was something sacred, or just a visual effect interpreted in an extraordinary way? Behind many simple videos posted online, there are sometimes stories no one could imagine how they would end. That was the case with Felice, a 9-year-old girl who lived in a city in Russia. She often shared innocent videos, ordinary moments from her daily life, with just a small number of followers. But on February 17th, 2021, one of those videos took on a completely different meaning.
Короче, ребята, всем привет, у меня сейчас жесть история. У нас там сосед, он пьяный, он, короче, стучится на дверь, всю ломает нафиг. Он уже несколько минут здесь стоит, стучится, орёт, матерится. Я просто, мне страшно, блин. Он вообще, мне страшно. Я с братом младшим, старшим, и там еще ремонт делают. Папа ушел в магазин.
That day, Felice was home alone, taking care of her younger brother. Her parents had stepped out for a short time. At some point, violent knocking echoed through the front door. On the other side was a neighbor behaving aggressively. Frightened, the girl chose not to answer. The knocking continued for nearly an hour. Terrified, Felice began recording herself asking for help, perhaps believing that filming might somehow protect her.
Это он только что стучал, короче, вот. Я как смогла, так записал, блин. Я боюсь, я пойду опять. по-честному, он уже, блин, час где-то стоит, стучится. Я уже, блин, сердце страшно. Жестко. Это жестко. Мой брат, короче, спрятался и все.
During that time, a friend invited her to go to the park. Relieved, Felice agreed and waited. The knocking stopped, bringing a false sense of safety. Soon after, new knocks were heard, this time softer. Thinking it was her friend, she opened the door. The neighbor was there again. Felice tried to close the door, but she was struck by multiple gunshots. Still conscious, she saw her parents arrive and spoke her final words. "Dad, I was killed." The attacker was 33 years old, with a history of alcoholism and ongoing conflicts with the family. Felice's life ended tragically, serving as a grim reminder that, more often than not, the greatest danger doesn't come from the supernatural, but from other people. A man and his partner began experiencing something inside their own home that quickly spiraled out of control. For several days in a row, every time they came back, they found the living room and kitchen completely trashed. Pillows scattered across the floor, cabinets left open, objects out of place. In one of the strangest incidents, an entire stack of clothes that had been neatly folded showed up spread across the hallway, as if someone had deliberately stepped all over them. At first, the explanation seemed simple: the cat, but that theory quickly fell apart. The mess didn't add up. Look at the pattern. It wasn't just light objects. Some of the things that had been moved would have required strength, coordination, and intent. The cat simply wouldn't be capable of causing that kind of repeated disorder. To put an end to the debate, and to understand what was really happening, the couple decided to install cameras throughout the house. What was recorded completely changed how they saw the situation. The footage makes one thing clear right away: the cat is innocent. But look closely, because the video also reveals something far more unsettling. There is unexplained movement, a presence that shouldn't be there, something that was never invited. From that point on, the couple's concern shifts from who is doing this to what is doing this. Watch every detail of the recording carefully and see if you also notice what subtly appears in the footage. After a second video was released, the comments exploded. People began analyzing it frame by frame and proposing their own theories. Many claimed that the type of movement seen in the footage closely resembles behavior commonly attributed to a childlike spirit. But the detail that made everything even more disturbing is that the activity doesn't stop during the day. It continues at night, and that's when the situation takes on a whole new weight. Pay attention to this. How do you explain a chair rocking on its own in the middle of the night? Watch the movement. It isn't sudden or violent. It's slow, almost rhythmic, as if someone were sitting there, gently pushing against the floor with their feet. That detail completely shifted the tone of the discussion. Some viewers believe nighttime manifestations suggest that the presence feels comfortable in the environment, perhaps a little too comfortable. Others argue that this movement is directly connected to the mess seen during the day, suggesting that everything comes from the same unseen source. And what if that's true? If it really is an entity with childlike characteristics, some believe it may not even realize the fear it's causing. Maybe it's just playing, exploring the space, touching things that don't belong to it. But the question that remains is this: how long does something like that stay harmless? A man has been sharing on his account a series of strange events that almost always happen after midnight. Objects move on their own, fall to the floor without explanation. Lights flicker for no apparent reason. The feeling is unmistakable. Something there doesn't want him to have peace. And according to him, the activity has only been getting worse.
Próbuję się skupić na rysowaniu, ale kurwa znowu coś się dzieje. Świeczki przed chwilą spadły, coś stukało. Już jestem zmęczony tym wszystkim. No nie, kurwa. Ja pierdolę, no.
One night, he's awakened by sharp, sudden sounds. Knocks that seem to come directly from the glass of his balcony. Pay attention to that detail. When he goes to check, there's no one outside. No signs of a break-in, no movement at all. Trying to understand what's happening, he decides to buy a K2 meter, a device used to detect possible energy fluctuations. But oddly enough, after that, the nighttime disturbances became even more frequent.
Znowu coś się dzieje. Ostrość.
And it's not just him who notices the change in the atmosphere. His cat's behavior is unsettling as well. The animal becomes restless, staring into empty spaces around the house, reacting as if something invisible were there. Many believe animals can sense what we can't, and if that's true, then maybe that house is harboring something dark, something that has no intention of leaving anytime soon. We're subtle, almost easy to dismiss. But as the days passed, these incidents became far too frequent to be mere coincidence. Gradually, he reached a disturbing conclusion. Something wasn't right. Convinced he might be living in a haunted environment, he decided to place cameras throughout the house to capture any abnormal activity. Believing that afternoon would be like any other, he was in the kitchen washing dishes when something unexpected was caught on camera. With his back turned, completely distracted, a chair positioned in the background moves on its own. No wind, no contact. He doesn't notice it at the moment, but minutes later, he becomes confused by the chair's position. Puzzled, he walks over and puts it back where it was. The problem is, shortly after, it moves again. This time, he chooses to ignore it, but the feeling is unmistakable. Something is trying to get his attention. And it doesn't stop there. Moments later, a sharp sound echoes through the house. A loud, aggressive knock, as if something were irritated or demanding to be noticed. And the activity isn't limited to the kitchen. What the bedroom camera captures is even more unsettling. With the room completely empty, the light begins to flicker on its own. The bathroom door slowly moves, as if someone were standing on the other side. All of this happens while the man remains in the kitchen, unaware of what's unfolding around him. But the night holds something even stranger.
Alright, I heard it again. Sounded like somebody walking back and forth in the kitchen. That one actually sounded like a door latching or opening. There goes my closet door. They're these fucking doors. And keep it on the door. So you guys nobody's in there? Shit.
While recording an ordinary video for his social media, the atmosphere in the house suddenly shifts. He begins to hear footsteps, followed by faint, almost imperceptible whispers. Suddenly, a door behind him opens on its own. Gathering his courage, he walks over, only to find an empty cabinet. As he continues moving through the house, he notices a refrigerator magnet lying on the floor. No explanation, no visible presence. Today, he believes he's not alone. In his view, something inhabits that house. Perhaps a childlike presence trying to interact, or something far darker, choosing to reveal itself slowly, feeding on fear before fully showing what it truly is. Isolated deep in the Appalachian Mountains, a traveler decided to pause his journey and park his motorhome at a campground for the night. It seemed like a simple choice, just a few hours of rest before hitting the road again. But what began as an ordinary stop quickly turned into an experience he would never forget. After what happened there, sleep was no longer an option. Sometime in the middle of the night, just as he was drifting off, he began to hear strange noises coming from outside. Slow, deliberate scratching sounds, persistent and uncomfortably close to the vehicle's door. Something was out there. Instead of ignoring it, he grabbed his phone, took a deep breath, and aimed the camera toward the door. That's when something revealed itself in the darkness. Focus on the eyes. Two large, glowing points appear outside, fixed on the window, as if whatever it was were watching every slightest movement inside the motorhome. For some, the explanation seems logical, perhaps a mountain lion or another large predator, since the region is known for animals like that. But there's one detail that doesn't convince everyone. According to the man himself, he had been aware of that presence even before he started recording. The behavior didn't resemble that of a normal animal at all. There was no typical aggression, no natural curiosity. It was something different, something that felt far too aware. In the comments, many believe it wasn't just a predator lurking in the dark, but something far more unsettling, perhaps an entity that has inhabited those mountains for a very long time. Now look closely at the details and tell me, what do you think was standing outside that night? A wild animal, or just one more of the secrets the Appalachian Mountains refuse to reveal? Those were the 9 terrifying videos of today. If any of them sent chills down your spine, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Until the next descent into the darkness, sleep lightly.